Your Comedy Minute. I'm Scotty T. Put on your seatbelt. I've never met this young lady, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride. Emmy
Hmm.
Buttrick is with me. Emmy, how are you?
Great. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm a little scared, to be honest with you. I'm a little giddy.
I am the succubus, so I mean, there's a reason to be
Yeah,
scared. I'm a little dog.
go ahead. Succubus of satire.
Yes, I am the
You,
succubus of satire.
you
The
want to explain to
only
people what
real vampire comedian I know of, actually.
the
I
vampire comedian?
I'm with my illness. Unfortunately, I have a rare autoimmune condition that requires me to take human plasma, medication made up of human plasma every 4 weeks. Actually, just for fun, I have a little bottle here. I literally have plasma in my house at all times. So this is typically in a fridge, and I take lots of this, way more than this one bottle, every 4 weeks. I have a nurse that comes into my home. I refer to her as Renfield, because that's what's Dracula's assistant. So I just call my nurse Renfield. She comes over every 4 weeks, and Renfield hooks me up to an
I
IV.
told you this thing was going to be crazy. We got a
She hooks me up
vampire.
to an
She's filling
IV.
your plasma. Jesus God, Emmy Buttricks.
It's true. I am the clinical vampire comedian. No,
You come out and bite people. What? What?
but I
Uh,
do thank everybody for plasma donations. Anybody out there that's ever donated plasma, thank you very much.
I have so much stuff written down. You're such an interesting young lady. Stand-up
Thank you.
comedian, improvisational, improv comedian.
Yeah.
You also you also, let me just say this because I think this is important. If strawberry shortcake and carrot top had a love child,
That was actually, I would be it. And the funny thing is, that joke I did as a one off on a comment on Instagram because I just took a selfie of myself and I just made that comment about myself. And Carrot Top, really Carrot Top, Sean, liked the post. Him doing that gave me the nerve to go and do stand up comedy.
I
Because I was like,
actually
if he
I
thinks
went
that one off quip is funny, I was like, well, then I've got all kinds of stuff that I've actually thought of. I was like, that's just a quip I put on a selfie.
I
Oh,
went I went there first because I actually saw Carrot Top live.
well, I have
In
not yet. I go to Vegas all the time, but every time I've been there, he's been dark just by happenstance. It's like I consider him like my comedy daddy because him literally liking that post where I mentioned him gave me the chutzpah to go and get on stage in LA because I started in LA just because I
Okay.
was like, I want to go someplace no one knows me. They'll give me brutal feedback. So if I have no business doing this, I won't embarrass myself anymore. But if I have a prayer, they'll tell me. And as I literally was leaving the Hollywood Comedy, and a lovely, wonderful MC there, she's like, "You, yeah." I'm like, "Me?" She goes, "Yeah, Ohio, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Ohio." And she goes, "You stick with this. You're funny." And that's been it. I've been hitting the ground running since then. I've not stopped since that date.
Well, I should have
October
known.
20th.
I should have known. I should have known the vampire lady would be jump ahead. When did you start doing comedy? Hey, forget my little carrot top story, me seeing him in Charlotte. Just keep going. Hell, you don't need me. Just
Story.
hell, do your own goddamn show. You don't need me. So you started doing
Yeah.
comedy. Well, and you covered a lot of stuff there. You're in Columbus, Ohio, which I've
Yes.
been there, and also let's see, what is it? Ashland, Kentucky.
Yes. I bought my mother's childhood home, and
Okay.
I believe passionately my goal in life is honestly to bring comedy arts back to Appalachia. We
Okay.
used to have a funny bone in Huntington, West Virginia. Unfortunately, it closed with the opioid epidemic. We're
Yeah.
healing from that. And I was born and raised in that area. And even though I've been calling Columbus home now for close to 19 years, I still have family there. My father's in his 70s. I go down very regularly to take care of him. So, I mean, I'm child free, but just like most child free adults, it means you're a caretaker of your parents.
Yeah.
So I do that. and I desperately want, I'm actually going to be hosting an improv camp at Camp Mad Anthony Wayne in Huntington, West Virginia, July 6th and 7th, to try to bring the arts of comedy back to Appalachia. And I'm just saying it right now, not a great businesswoman. I'm not making any money on this. I'm doing this purely as a labor of love. I want to level the playing field between Columbus, Ohio and Appalachia, because those comedians down there that I've gone to the open mics, they're every bit as talented. Every bit. They just don't have the stages. They don't have a comedy club.
Yeah.
There's just not one there.
Believe it or
So
not,
with it being commutable, it's a commutable drive. If they just had the training, they could easily come up here and it could start expanding and potentially getting another club again in the Ashland, Kentucky, Huntington, West Virginia area, which I know several people are very interested in doing. So only thing we could do is just educate the people in that area, get them excited about improv comedy, because right now they've got some good stand-ups there, but not really any improv. And Columbus, oh, it's an embarrassment of riches. Like, we have amazing improv schools here. Jeff Gage out of the Funny Bone, Taryn Rance out of the Nest, Hannah Romes out of Hashtag. There's no reason to do any, I'm not needed here. Down home, down in Ashland, Kentucky, they need someone like me to be like, let's zip zap zop this.
okay. Yeah, well, let's do a quick shout out to our mutual friend, Lisa Buck.
Lisa, out of nowhere, kind, warm. Soon as she sees me, compliments me. Couldn't be nicer. We immediately clicked. We ended up talking like kicking the whole time. That's not common, unfortunately, in comedy, where it's like it's a sausage fest. It's a male dominated industry, but then unfortunately, a lot of times the females are the nastiest to you. And Lisa's not like that at all, nor am I. I'm like, if you're a female, I want to even like prop you up and give you more, because we're already fighting the audience that females aren't funny, that crap. So I adore Lisa. I root for her any show she's on. I'm like loving on that, hashtagging it up, because she's one of the funniest people in this. Almost 2 years now, I've been doing full-time stand-up. I was doing improv before then. She's one of those people that is genuinely funny, and you want to see win only because she's a genuinely good person too.
Yeah, I was blessed. I was blessed to have her on the show, and I'm blessed to have you on the show.
Oh, she's such a good human being. Like, we got a huge scare and went through terrible times. My husband was diagnosed with cancer this winter. And Lisa was one of the very first people when I had to make it public, because unfortunately I had to take like a 6 weeks absence from performing.
Yeah.
Lisa was one of the very first people that was in my DMs like, girl, I'm praying for you. If you need anything, let me know. She got it immediately.
Well, we ground this comedy thing to a halt. We just ground this fucker to a halt. There's no hope. I don't think we can rescue it now. I don't think we can get it back. You just went to see Bill Burr, if I'm right.
Yes. Thursday night, I went to go see Bill Burr, and I have sworn for years I listen to that man's podcast every Tuesday, every Thursday.
Right.
And I've sworn for years that my father is just an incorrigible slut, and that man's really my little ginger brother, because it's like I can finish his sentences. I have so much just kind of hive mind in common with Bill Burr, and I don't think most people would look at me as like the pinup kind of. I love Bill Burr. I can finish that man's thoughts and sentences. It was also seeing just such a master class. He takes his time. He's so unrushed. He's so comfortable on stage.
Right.
It's like we're getting to witness a genius doing his craft, and we just happen to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
Would you say, and again, I don't know where the comedy is in this, but I'm enjoying it. Would you say that's the best comedy show you've seen so far?
No. I'm a hardcore comedy nerd. I actually saw Carlin when I was a teenager, George Carlin. I saved up my allowance money.
I had a conversation with George.
You got to tell me. Tell me, give me all the details.
I mean, I met Rodney Dangerfield, Stephen Wright, Lewis Black. I had a thing with Bob Saget. on Twitter. I also
Oh,
had again, it's one of those things when you love comedy, you love comedy.
right. And
You
I
know,
literally saved up my allowance money. And one of the reasons I'm so passionate about bringing comedy back to Appalachia is but for George Carlin playing the Paramount Arts Theater in Ashland, Kentucky, my little redneck butt would have never been able to see him. But
right?
he believed passionately in taking
About
art
comedy, yeah,
to the smaller areas. So he played that every time he went on tour. If they would have him, he would play it. So I got to
right.
see him twice before I turned 17.
Did you really? Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I've always loved comedy. My father, I come by it honest. My father always had Jerry Clower in the background.
I
I
remember
could
Jerry
quote to you
Clower
Jerry
records.
Clower,
Yep.
John Panetta. Like my dad always had those in the background. Richard Pryor. So, but Bill Cosby in his early days before we found out what a monster he was,
Yeah.
when he was just the stand up. Um, those kind of things were just the background of my childhood. And then I grew up economically in a very poor area. So on Saturdays, instead of watching cartoons, my dad and I would watch British comedies.
Okay.
So as from a child, I immediately started getting that the repartee that they have and the double entendres and such.
Yeah.
That's kind of missing in American humor. So then I kind of got like the mishmash of both between
Right.
watching and listening to stand-ups with my dad and then listening to British comedy every Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate I come from funny people.
I grew up
That and
on.
also the
I
area
grew
I
up
come from,
on.
there's a lot of tragedy. So comedy is tragedy plus time, as Carlin says.
I grew up on Red Fox and Mom's Mabley. Uh,
Yes.
Red Fox and Mom's Mabley records, and the Bickersons, and I mean, I grew up on Henny Youngman and Don Rickles and all in the family. Oh
Please stay
Jesus,
Phyllis.
Jesus, there. Let me tell you something, there, meathead. All in the
That's
family, and
good.
just yeah, I do a lot. I do a lot of, but yeah, and it's just times have changed and comedy's changed. You know,
Tremendously. Like
yeah.
tremendously. I think some of the greats now, like some of the ones that I love, like Bill Hicks, who left us unfortunately so young,
Love Bill Hicks. Love
could
Bill
he
Hicks.
even get booked now? It's like I don't know. It's not, he's a genius at his craft, but in today's climate, could he get even his foot in the door? I don't know.
Well, what I'm hearing, and I don't, again, we really have just there's no comedy here. Just for you watching for comedy, there's none here. But there's the TikTok, Instagram, let's call them, social media influencers,
Yeah.
digital creator, content creators, and then there's your stand-up comedians. And
And
I've had stand-up comedians, I always say Tom Padovano, who wrote jokes for Dangerfield and for Phyllis Diller and for Joan Rivers. And what I call comedy legends that, I'm blessed to have these people on. But in the same sense, and let's go back to Lisa Buck, who's only been doing it for, and she's just as funny
yeah.
as some of these guys and one other quick note, I would have women on here every time. If I could get enough female comedians, I say it all the time. Please, I want female
You're the
comedians because
opposite.
I agree with you that women are just as funny as men, and I also think there's a thing there. You could talk about whatever, and you have a
Mhm.
man's point of view and a woman's point of view, and that camaraderie. I think that that's a real possibility, right? For the future of comedy, to have someone like you and I discussing, I don't want to say Biden or Trump, but just some
Right.
event,
Like right
Diddy
at the
or
topic, like right
Diddy,
now, like right, like or Kendrick Lamar
yeah,
and
yeah,
Drake,
Drake or
right?
whatever. Yeah, I mean,
One
where
person pop
can you
culture.
believe that Diddy? Yes, I can. I think him and because I met Diddy and I met R. Kelly, and I
Oh,
think they're going to be buddies soon.
one can hope because it seems that Diddy is every bit as bad. So one can hope that he and R. Kelly will have a
Yeah,
lot to talk about in a
I
cell.
wish them both. I wish them both the best. I wish it,
Oh.
I think that I didn't have anything to do with it. I just met him when I was in the music business.
Did you see the apology today after, there's irrefutable evidence that, you've been beating on that woman, and like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh, the woman that you said was lying. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, are you kidding us?
Yeah.
That's way beyond. You should have said that when she actually came out and was like, hey, I'm being abused. Maybe we would have listened to you then. Maybe.
Well,
Sick
I
fuck.
just right before we got on here, a very good friend of mine called me and we talked about, and you probably won't remember this, but there was a NFL football player, Baltimore Raven named Ray Rice.
We're right. I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan.
Oh, really? Well, Ray
Tried and
Rice,
true
if
from
you remember when
96.
Ray Rice, that video came out, I don't think he
I
played
wanted
another
him kicked
down
out.
in the I don't think he played another down in the NFL. I think he was.
And he never should. Oh, they brought him back, but he never played again. Yeah, he was on suspension, but it took him way too long to make the decision to part ways with
Well,
him.
I'm just saying, I don't
Yeah.
think he ever touched a football again after that.
No,
Just
no,
like
and it's like that.
Diddy should never touch a record again. Diddy
What
should
what
never
does he
be in
think
a
he's gonna
studio
do?
again.
Producer direct anything or never? You're never gonna be able
Yeah,
to sing again on a track. You're ridiculous. I mean,
I
you're the lowest of the low. You beat people that love you. I mean, that
yeah.
woman was devoted to him.
Well,
And
I'm
what's
old
so
school.
scary?
You don't ever hit a
It was,
woman. I'm old school. You
no,
don't
and
ever
like
hit a
what's so
woman.
scary?
Never,
What's
never.
so scary about that poor woman's situation? Like I'm like multiple times married. One of my exes
I
put
have
me in
that
the
written
hospital.
down. I didn't know if I could talk about
Yes.
that. How
Oh,
many
of
times
course.
were you married by the time you were 26?
One, two, three, four. I'm addicted to multi-tier cakes and poopy dresses.
See, I did a little research. I want to make sure I come in somewhat prepared for the vampire lady.
Yes, I was married 4 times by the time I was 26 years old.
Ah, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I don't
And the
mean
thing
to
is, I'm like,
laugh. But
wasn't marrying for money.
it
What commit
reminds me of,
crimes? I had jerk
can I do
radar.
a
I said if
joke?
there
Can
was a
I do
jerk
it?
within 200 miles, I'd find him.
And you know what? I'm guilty of that. Every bad choice you could make when it comes to women, I've done it.
Every bad choice. I always said if I had a mistake, I would like my mistakes have names and walk around.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Me too.
And when I go back and look at it, it's just I had the same kind of stupid young 20s relationship everybody else does. I just got jewelry and paperwork involved in it because none of the relationships lasted more than a year, 2 years. My
Oh my
first
God.
husband quite literally proposed to me 9 days after he met me. 9 days. My
You know,
second husband
I can see it.
proposed
I
to me
mean, I
10 days.
understand. Let me say this. I understand it.
I don't.
Oh, I
Well,
do.
that's very kind of you. I know.
Well,
I'm a
no,
hot
I
mess,
mean,
but I'm a hot
listen, hold on.
mess.
You have pinup model. You have pinup model written down.
Yes, actually, something very exciting about that's just happening, and this will be actually where I'm first announcing it publicly.
Well, let
Um,
me just say this. You're hotter than a fireman's sweatband.
that's extraordinarily kind of you, because I'm actually the
Now,
girl that,
don't me to me. Don't me to me. I'm just being
no,
funny.
I'm actually the girl that didn't even get senior pictures because I thought I was so ugly.
No, and
I
that's
did.
why I can see why what he proposed to you at 9 days after he met you.
First one proposed to me 9 days after he met me. The second one
And did
proposed to
you
me 10 days
okay?
after he met me.
Hang on, no, wait, I'm sorry, I talked over it. Guy proposed to you 9 days after he met you, and you married him.
First one, yes.
Okay,
Second one was 10 days after he met me.
Well, you're going up. Got to know him a little better.
I never, and the funny thing, I've never given an ultimatum. It was never my suggestion. It was never a hint, nothing.
Well, 9 days, 10 days.
10 days. And then my third husband proposed to me within 2 months.
Okay.
My fourth husband proposed to me within 5.
Boy, so you guys had a long term.
And we've been together 18 years.
Oh, God bless. Yeah, I'm glad it has a happy ending. I didn't want to bring it
Yes, it
up, but
definitely
you do it on stage, And I thought, well, I could, and I don't even think I brought it up. I don't want to get held responsible here.
No, no, no. I bring it up on stage because it's funny. I mean, come on, for anybody, it's been like 26 years old. I do the whole thing. I'm the founding member of Wedding Addicts Anonymous. Well, for short. I am. I'm the founding member. It's people don't think I honestly went through it and such. It's like I obviously had a problem with love addiction. I mean, I was in love with the idea of love, and I would marry guys if I just thought if they loved me, we can make it work. And that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It also helped that the first time I got married was 1 month to the day before I graduated high school.
Well, just so you get an idea, my think tankery was, boy, when I hold this woman on a couch, that's all we need is me and her and this couch.
That's sweet, actually. I like that. I'm a romantic. I like that.
Yeah, well, that didn't work so good. I
I
found
can
out that
relate.
holding anyone on a couch is good.
Oh, yeah. See, that's where my first husband and I went wrong. He thought monogamy was a form of wood.
Oh, really?
And we're actually close friends to the point that he named his daughter after me. I was quite literally bridesmaids in his wedding. I was a bridesmaid at my first husband's wedding.
You want me to match you? You want me to match
Huh?
you? The guy that
No.
was the guy that was best man in my wedding is married to my ex-wife.
Holy God. It's a comedy thing.
It's like a Springer episode.
We could do our own jerk episode right now. It's got to be a comedy thing. Apparently, we just like we just keep it kind of incestuous when it comes to marriage.
No, no,
You can have them.
no, don't do that. Don't do that.
I literally
Oh
made
my
a speech
God.
at his wedding, at my ex-husband's second wedding, and set up, and I stood and I said, well, you know what? If it wasn't for me, this date never happened, because if I never divorced him, he couldn't be doing this now.
So you're performing all over. Do you have a batch of gigs coming up that you want to tell people about, or just anything that you have, coming up or in the mix? Like I do want to mention, we gave a shout to Lisa Buck.
Yes.
Joe Scrocca was on this show, who I have big admiration for. 63 years old, and had it with dating, had it with everything. He decided to start doing stand-up comedy, and just a great guy.
Absolutely great, complete class act.
Yeah.
He invited me out to Wildwoods for a gig. Wonderful gig. Place is completely packed. He has a crowd in the palm of his hands.
Yeah,
Just a
Joe's a good guy.
completely class act gentleman in comedy.
Yeah.
Couldn't say enough good about him.
And you know what's funny is that, and I'll mention him just because he pissed me off, Mike Parenti, who's been doing comedy for 20 years and thinks he's the cat's ass of comedy. And I'd go see Joe Scrocca before I'd go see Mike Parenti. Mike Parenti can lap my nads. Mike Parenti come on here. Mike come on here was a total asshole. And I'm not afraid to say it. 20 years in, he thinks he's God's gift to comedy, telling me what I need to do. I'm 62 years old. I don't need to do shit, buddy. I just don't like arrogant, rude, and a lot of male comedians that have been doing a long time think they're going to tell you this or tell you that. You don't have to be old to be wise. You don't have to be old to be funny. If you watch some of these shows that I've done, I had a young kid on here he's in Canada now doing a great job. Corey Albert, I think Corey, that's why I'm doing this. I don't have to do this. I'm doing it because I like it.
Right. Same. I come from a background of politics. This is something that is a passion for me. There's nothing to me that I think is more healing than laughter. And if you can be that for someone, if you can take someone out of their troubles for a day and just make laughter is involuntary, you produce all kinds of feel-good chemicals and stuff like that. So to know that you've just kind of lightened somebody's burden, it just makes you feel good at the end of the day. It feels like you've actually done something worthwhile. You're not trying to sell somebody a product. You're not trying to hoodwink someone. You're not trying to sell somebody a bill of goods. You just went into a room. Hope people had a good night because of you. Maybe they're going to tell a good joke to their friends tomorrow, be like, oh, I saw this comedian, and they had a good time. And you get to be part of that memory. And to me, that's beautiful. It's like it forms a community. I love that.
Well, because you mentioned George Carlin, Robin Williams used to say, and I've always held on to this, laughter is the enema of the soul. Laughter cleans you out. When
So
you
perfect.
laugh, it cleans you out. And for me, it does. There's nothing, I can be in the worst mood, being a, and when I start laughing, I'll see something or watch something, and I'll just, or a comedian will tell me, I hear a joke, you know. Well, let's do a
Same.
couple. Why don't you do a couple jokes for us? Do a couple bits for us. We don't have a lot of time, so why don't you do a couple bits?
All right. Well, they do call me Emmy Buttrick. I am the succubus of satire, and my husband loves calling me Emmy because the day that he met me, he said he just knew he met his trophy wife because he
Yeah.
felt like he won an award show in hell. And much like an award show, there is red carpeting at my entrance.
Well, go ahead, keep going. I'm in. I'm all in. I want
Buttrick
a
is
couple more. I want a
actually
couple more minutes.
Buttrick is actually my legally married last name, and with a name like Buttrick, you got to do comedy. Like literally, someone's got to sign my form. I'm just like in a Zoom meeting. So as I go out and do comedy, of course, when you get married, you expect certain things would change. What I didn't expect was that change would occur in all of my gay friends. That they'd be calling me like, "Yeah, hey girl, hey, yeah. Are you aware of the amount of action I could get on Grindr with your last name? Yeah, I'm gonna need you to adopt me, Mama Ass Magic. Make me part of the Ass Magic family." And then the ultimate betrayal. Here I'm starting in comedy. I've only been doing stand up about a year and a half. And then my husband finds out he has prostate cancer. And I'm like, okay, he's young, he's athletic. How could this be happening to us? And I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe we should have seen this coming because with our last name, his ass really did play a trick on him.
Emmy Buttrick. Yeah, but I'm a sick asshole. I'll be first to admit it. And when I saw Buttrick, I was like, oh man, there's gotta be just I can't imagine how many
Yeah.
jokes there are there.
Well, I just flew her to do the gig with Joe. I just flew to New Jersey. Hand to God, I could probably go and find it right now. My boarding pass says butt truck.
But
They
truck.
screwed up my name.
Well, that ain't better.
The
That's
you and I
worse.
beside each other. Yeah, the
That's
you and I beside
worse.
each other. Butt truck was my name on the way back. And that's not the first time they did that to me. I actually had to go and get it switched because I played this so far this year. Good Lord, I've been in Las Vegas. I go to Harvard for improv, so I've actually played Boston comedy, and I've been in Columbus. Now, last night, well, night before last, Cambridge, Ohio.
Right.
Got Cincinnati coming up June 1st.
I've
I'm
been
going
there.
to be actually doing my longest headlining bit ever in Cincinnati. It's my headlining debut in Cincinnati. I'm doing 30 minutes at the Vegan Food Festival.
Okay.
And on June 2nd, I will be hosting at Crackpot Comedy Clubs and the very famous, at least locally in Ohio, and she blew up on Kill Tony. Layla Ingalls will be there that night too.
Okay.
And I'm hosting an improv workshop, an overnight camping workshop in Huntington, West Virginia, July 6th and 7th.
Okay. Well, you mentioned West Virginia twice. Believe it or not, the gentleman I had on here was from Charleston, West Virginia, and I brought up a guy back when I worked in the music business, Billy Shahan, who used to be the program director at VSR in Charleston. And I told him I used to go to every part of West Virginia, and I have a lot of fond memories of West Virginia.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that because so many people talk about it in such a terrible way. And where I grew up, I grew up in Ohio, but it's 10 minutes away from Kentucky, 10
Yeah,
minutes away from West Virginia.
yeah,
And the people in the area, just geographically, it's so beautiful. The
it is.
mountains and the river, it's so lovely.
He calls himself the Appalachian Adonis.
The Appalachian done. Well, I'm
Yeah,
definitely gonna have to get to know him because, like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna
he's
have
a
to
he's a
suck about
mess.
it.
He's a mess. God, wait till you see his stuff. Well, look, we're running short of time, and you just covered everything. Is there anything else you want to tell the people before we get to your comedy minute? Because you told me, off the record here that you have a pretty good your comedy minute for me.
Yeah, pretty good comedy minute. I think that pretty much covers up everything. August 2nd, I will be in the Tri-State Comedy Festival, August 2nd. And that's it. That wraps it up for me for a while for days.
Okay, well, let me do a formal introduction. Your comedy minute, Jesus, I can't even say it. Your comedy minute with my buddy, Emmy Buttrick. Emmy, go ahead.
All right. Well, I love to travel. My very first time I'm ever in San Francisco happens to be the time that Snakes on a Plane is out. So everywhere you're going in San Francisco, being it's my first time, I'm in the heavy hardcore tourist areas. I'm convinced I'm going to ride a trolley and I'm going to eat some rice-a-roni. I'm in San Francisco.
Right.
So I'm in line for the trolley, standing there, and everyone knows San Francisco, California has a terrible homeless problem. They just do. I don't think anyone's better than me. All of a sudden, this gentleman starts just yelling, "Hey, you dare, lady! Hey, lady, you dare! Yeah!" I'm like, "Me? Yeah, lady, you." Okay, yeah. I just want you to know one thing. Okay, sir? I just want you to know that Samuel L. Jackson is my bitch. Random homeless man encounter standing at a trolley in San Francisco. And I'm just thinking the entire time, like, sir, if Samuel L. Jackson is truly your bitch, why are you homeless on the street? Like, shouldn't he help your situation out or something? Like, you're just randomly screaming at people at the trolley in the San Francisco line here, like. Maybe hook you up like Alcatraz or something if he's your bitch. I don't know.
That's that's wonderful.
He just needed me to know that very much.
That I can't wait for Samuel L. Jackson. Hopefully he tunes in and
he finds out that he is a man's bitch, a homeless man's bitch in San Francisco.
say bitch one more time. Say bitch one. If you're a Pulp Fiction fan, yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Well, Emmy, hang in there for a second. I'm going to stop the recording so we can talk a little bit off the air, okay?
Great.
Thank you so much for being here. And I'll tell you what, if it's okay with you, let's catch up in a few months and we'll see how things are going for you.
I would absolutely love that. This has been a total pleasure.
I loved having you here, and man, you didn't disappoint.
Sorry, I talked too much. I'm Appalachian.
No. I told the people going in it was going to be a bumpy ride, and it most certainly was. hey,
so much. I appreciate you.
What succubus of satire? Jesus God. I'm just glad I got through it without you coming across and tearing a vein out of my neck.
She's fed recently.
Okay. Listen, hang tight for a second. Let's stop the recording.
Okay.